Welcome to the Contrarian Capitalist. I'm delighted to be joined today by returning guest Clem Chambers. Plenty to talk about today, as per usual. Clem, welcome back. How are you?
Great to be back. Well, I'm very good, thank you. I was did another video today about Intel, and this morning I was thinking, what am I gonna say today? And actually, I wrote about the American markets, which I think are going to be going on a bull run or continue the bull run to the end of next year. And then boom, I go, what's that? What's that Lamborghini on my portfolio? Oh, Intel's gone up.
Yes, I was going to ask you about that. I've been watching some of your videos this morning, and yeah, well, let's start with Intel then. Obviously, as you've just alluded to, high up on the day, but you wrote about this a few weeks ago. So, what did you see, and what can you see coming down the road?
I wrote about this in January and then in February. Okay. And as you're the contrarian capitalist, you should be totally on the same page. If you're a contrarian, you like stocks that people hate.
Mhm.
If you say, oh, this is going to go up, they go, what are you talking about? It's rubbish. It's rubbish. Or if you say this is going to go down, they say, what are you talking about? It's great. It's great. You are against the grain. And, over time, being a contrarian has been proven to be a very successful way to invest. And I've been a contrarian ever since I was born, I think. But there's a difference between being a contrarian and somebody that's bought a stock that was expensive and it collapsed and you keep buying more. That's not the same thing at all. It is that you have an opinion and everyone looks at you and goes, what is wrong with you? Now, Intel, it was one of the least loved companies. And, I actually went to see Intel when I was, a little bit out of short pants, just when they were going and Grove was there and all that. And I wanted to build a home computer and I was all of a tender age of 20. And I went to see them and they said, oh, you need to use this, blah, blah. Anyway, I didn't build the computer, but I saw them. And I've always held a candle for them because what they do is amazing. Making chips is not a trivial thing. Making chips is not the same as being in advertising. Oh, lovely, lovely, lovely. This is wonderful, lovely, 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 and give me money. This is making little etching marks, a thousandth of a hair. It's incredibly difficult stuff. But anyway, as far as the world has been concerned, Intel is a crock of poo. And they've gone, it's rubbish, it's rubbish, it's rubbish. Well, when they say that about a company doing billions in sales in an area this is incredibly difficult, I go, worth looking at. So I've been following them for some time. Anyway, up pops the new administration, and they go, "Oh, we're at war with China." Well, they don't quite say it like that, but they might as well. Yeah, and all the chips are either made in China or in Taiwan. So what are you going to do when you can't get any more chips? You're going back to the Stone Age, aren't you?
Mhm.
Now, the other thing is AI, AI, AI. You wouldn't have heard enough about AI. Everyone's talking about AI because AI is AI. But this is another AI point. So don't be too bored by this. AI is where the battle's going to be. Oh, my camera switched off. So it must be the other one that I'm not using. Sorry, it just went bleep bleep. And I thought, oh no, I'm going to. Anyway, here we go. AI is the battlefield that hopefully this conflict is going to take place on. Not, on Earth, not people doing what they're doing in Ukraine, but not even an economic war, which obviously it will be, but the level above that, which is a brain war, a quaternary or even quinternary economic activity war. Okay. Well, if your chips are being made in Taiwan, you lost that war, haven't you? So there I am, say I'm an advisor for the big man. And I go, we got to have chips, sir. We got to have chips in America. We got to make chips in America. Mm. And the big man says, yeah, well, don't we do that? No. Oh, who makes them? Well, China and Taiwan. Ah, okay. So who actually does make chips in our country? Surely there's somebody. Yes, Intel. Anybody else? Well, there's Global Foundry people. They've got some, and no. Okay, so what you're telling me is Intel. Hold on a minute. Let me go onto a new FN, that wonderful website, and have a check. Oh, everybody hates them. I know, sir, but they're the only ones with fabs, and they're behind the pace a little bit, but they're catching up. They're about 6 months behind everybody else, and they lots and lots of fabs all over Europe, our allies, and all over America. And really, if you want to make chips, You have to have a fab, and they have the fabs. They're the big guys in fabs. Okay, and they seem to be having a hard time. Ah, yes, sir. Yes, they do. Yes, yes. Right, buy 10% of them. Make sure they don't fail. Give them a kick up the pants. That you're going to have to do that, aren't you? Because
Hmm.
your factory, after all manufacturing, the only factories you've got is this crummy company that everybody hates. That is like, I can't remember, 2 times sales, not 40 times sales like Nvidia or 60 times sales. And if you want to build a fab, that takes like 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. Even on a war footing, it would take you 2 or 3 years. And the fabs belong to Intel, give or take. So, it's like tariffs. Yeah, we don't want your aluminium, and we've tariffed that. No, no, you can't. No, go away. We'll make our own. Copper, yeah, no, 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 no. Oh, platinum. Oh, we can't make our own. Okay, well, Russia, although we sanction you, we'll bring that in. Right? It's all about this conflict between China and America, which is why America's cutting Europe loose. Look, Europe, you've got as much money as we have. You've got more people. You sort out the Putin bloke. We've got to deal with China. Okay? And we can't be fighting on two fronts here. Fighting, hopefully, it's economic war.
Hmm.
But if you're going to fight, you've got to build your own ships. Guess what? Tax. If you're a Chinese ship and you pull into a dock, you're now writing a check for $7 million to unload. They put on a special. If you're a Chinese ship and you land here, we're going to tax you. It's worth 2% on inflation, that, by the way. That's a big, hairy deal. That's so you build your ship in America and you don't pay that duty. Because if you can't build ships, you can't fight a war, can you? If you don't make steel, you can't fight a war, can you? If you don't have, all this stuff, if you don't have manufacturing, you can't fight a war. You can't build tanks, you can't make planes, you've got no chips to put in your planes, blah, blah, blah. It all falls away from that. If you're going to go into a conflict, even if it's just a shouting match, you better be able to back it up. But if you can't make chips, you can't back it up, can you? Oh, all those things that go bang in your country, we make all the electronics for that, you know? Oh, you didn't. Oh, well, you've got a problem then, haven't you?
Yeah, that's it's a very good point, well made. And I just go back to the contrarian point you made at the start, is it's always challenging to be on that side of the fence. People thinking you're crazy, but now you've laid it out like that. Actually, it makes a whole lot of sense. Why would people not go for Intel? It's like I remember the other example, Boeing, when obviously the Boeing's had a lot of issues, but it kept getting slandered, and quite rightly so. But you've got Boeing and Airbus UK. Yeah, people are going to fly around the world somehow. And I think Boeing's turned around relatively well, obviously not as well as Intel. But yeah, when you put it like that, it makes a lot of sense,
Well,
Clem, to
you
be
see, I
fair.
would go backwards and I would go, well, people make planes that go bang. Okay.
Hmm.
The reason Airbus exists is so that Europe can have a bomber. Yeah. It's all about bombers. Oh, we seem to be a war. We need to bomb people. Oh, we need planes. Ah, we don't have anyone who makes planes. Oh, problem. Yeah. You need people to make planes because it's a strategic thing, right? So people like buying, but America's got a lot of warplane makers. And funny enough, their prices have moved, but not so much, which is good because that's the one to watch. The moment those, people like Grunman and Raytheon and all those guys, the moment their shares do that, oh boy, have we got a problem. In Europe, all the defense guys have gone like that. In January, as soon as it wasn't Trump, it was the other guy, wasn't it? The Minister of War, the War
Hmm.
Secretary, when he stood up and said, oh, blah, 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 all the European defense stocks went vertical, like 100, 200, 300%. Well, it's not doing that in America yet. And hopefully it never will, because if they ever do that, that's the market telling you those that know think it's going to get pretty spicy. Yeah. And until it gets pretty spicy, no one's going to pile into them because it's almost the last resort. Well, when you've got tanks in a country on your borders blowing stuff up and flying drones over your land by accident on purpose, then your defense stocks go up a lot, right? The thing about being a contrarian, though, is you're right when you say it to people and they look at you like this.
Hmm. Yep.
Like they can't imagine it because it's too awful. or it's too far away from their model. They can't go, oh, that's nonsense. Intel, they're blah 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 blah. Reasoned argument, reasoned argument. Oh, really? Oh, well, that's interesting. Tell me more. If you hear words of reason from other people, maybe you got it wrong. But the moment they just look at you like rabbit in the headlight, then you're probably onto something. And I've been contrarian, had to wait 2 or 3 years for certain things. And but normally as I get older and slower, I'm not too far ahead of the power curve. So 6, 9 months, it's not bad calling this 9 months. And for me, it was blaringly obvious. Most people will go back to that speech in, I think it was it Munich, or it was in Germany anyway, by the American Secretary of War, and they didn't hear what I heard. They weren't listening that hard. They didn't hear you've got to sort out Putin on your own. You can afford it, and we've got problems in Asia. Well,
Mm.
where in Asia exactly? What problems will they be? Yeah, and why do you mean that we've got to kind of look after this bit? And why can't you help us like you've done for the last 40 years? Oh, you mean it's such a big deal that you prefer not to have your fronts fighting on two fronts? That kind of thing. And that's contrarian, right? Because apart from a lot of your viewers will be contrarian, and a lot of your viewers will be of a certain age group and male, I bet your viewership is 90% male, isn't it?
It's quite high, yes, skewed to the male side, yes.
Yeah, well, my new channel, which is doing quite well, 90% male. Oh, no ladies love me. 90% male and mature, i.e. rich. Yeah. If you're old and you're male and you're into investing, you're probably rich. So old rich people watch this stuff. So they will probably totally agree. But most people have no comprehension of what could happen or what could go on in the same way as the poor Ukrainians 10 years ago or whatever. I was over there 7 or 8 years ago and they were living it up because they were coming out of their dark ages and building buildings and running funky bars and having lovely expensive restaurants and hanging American cars upside down from ceilings in hotels. And everything was wonderful. They couldn't have possibly imagined that they could be where they are today. And, when people give you that rabbit in the headlight look, you can imagine that you might not be too far off the truth. And it does often take a long time because ideas and situations have momentum. And that momentum takes a long time to change. Now the pen is dropped. I mean, the one I wrote a month ago said, well, Trump won't let it fail. I mean, does anybody out there believe that Trump is prepared to let anybody make him look silly? That's not on his agenda. So when he goes, we're buying 10% of Intel, that stock is going to go up. And you can hear him in about 90 days' time saying, we invested in Intel, we put $2 billion in, and now it's worth $20 billion, blah, blah, blah. You can hear that. The American government doesn't have to let anything small like a company fail. Yeah, all it has to do is like, hey, Nvidia, we need more AI service centers. You do a deal with Intel because we just bought some of them. Now, be a good boy, run along. Yeah,
Hmm.
governments are just an order of magnitude more powerful than anything in the corporate world, whatever people believe. So when a government gets behind something, it's going to move, and here we are.
One of your recent videos as well, you also looked at the US equity markets. When you were back on in May, you'd mentioned that you had been on the sidelines. You hadn't really done much because of everything that happened in April. And I know that one of your recent videos, I think we've got a similar belief here where the US markets, S&P 500, etc., they look like they're just on a very upward trajectory. So again, what can you see based on what you are looking at the graphs there, Clem?
Well, I would say it's quite contrarian to say that there's going to be a strong bull market because everywhere you read, oh, the market's toppy, oh, it's too high, oh, it could crash in a minute. And before the tariff crash, I was saying, well, Nasdaq's going to bubble. It's at the end of its boom and it's going to bubble. There's going to be at some point between now and a couple of years, it's going to just go vertical. Do a .com style vertical, and everyone's going to go, hallelujah, aren't I clever? And then it'll whip round and tear their faces off. That's what bubbles do. But it's going to come. And when it comes, you need to know what it is because you can ride that up and you can do great. I mean, what's Intel going to be at the end of that bubble? But boy, you better get out at some stage. And you can either get out after it reaches its peak and then starts coming back down the other way, as long as you're not upset by, you see, most people are upset by the money they didn't make, and then they're upset by the profit they didn't take. Me, I don't
Mm.
care. Yeah, I normally get in too early, near the bottom, and I get out too early near the top. So I get the middle 75% or something like that. Maybe middle 50, who cares? I don't. There's always another bus coming. But if it breaks your heart when you miss a profit, then you want to let it go over the top. And then if it doesn't hurt you so much that you didn't take your profits, that's probably the way to do it. Because at
Mm.
least you've got an open option. But buy low, sell high. You got to sell high. You got to sell high. Bank the profit. Yeah, particularly if you can't sleep at night. So that's the golden rule that I have. If I wake up at 3:30 in the morning thinking, "What's the price of the yen?" If I've got any yen, I'm out. So, if you're waking up at 4 a.m. to check the pre-market in Outer Mongolia, you want to lessen your position, right? So anyway, I was thinking about this bubble before the tariff crash, and I'm not telepathic. I didn't expect. I mean, when he came out and said tariffs, 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 I was gone, immediately gone before it crashed because I thought this is going to crash, and then it crashed, so I didn't lose anything, and then it started to go up again. I thought, God, V-shaped bottoms very rare. Last one was COVID, nah, and it's not the Fed doing it; it was the Treasury doing it, doing the support. So they V-shaped bottomed it, right? So anyway, I trade what I see, not what I think, and then away it goes and it repairs itself, and here we are on a beautiful trajectory up. And so when it was obviously that we had that V-shaped bottom and we weren't going to get a W-shaped bottom, it's back on that we're going to see a recovery and then off onto a bit more bull and at some point the bubble. And that bubble, it might not happen, right? But the point is, are you prepared? When
Mm.
it's happening, are you going to go, "Oh, I'm so clever, I picked all the right stocks. Look at the profit I'm making"? Or are you going, "Oh, here comes the bubble. Right, hold on tight. This is my plan." Yeah. Because if that is your thinking, then you could get out with a very big profit. If it isn't your thinking and you think that, you confuse a bull market with your brains, then you're going to ride it all the way up and all the way down. And, the trick of this game is to keep your profits and keep rolling them. Now, that hasn't been necessarily great advice for buy and holders, who are, in a sense, I think they're the ultimate contrarians because, I've got all that money in there. It keeps going up. I keep making a profit. I'm going to leave it alone. I'm not even going to look at it. It's gone down. Oh, I don't care. It's going to come back. I mean, it takes either numbness or a
Mhm.
lot of courage or something or contrarianism to do that. But it's good advice. Buy and hold and buy the dip has shown to be a really good thing. And if it were to crash, buying that crash would be a very good thing. But if you are, like probably your viewers, people that like to pick stocks, like to have theories, like to have theses, as they all say, if they think they're hedge fund managers, then you want to be a little bit cleverer than buy and hold and buy the dip. And, in that case, when you get into this bubble, which I believe is coming, maybe not imminent, could be imminent, you'll see it in the chart. It'll just do it, right? And then you'll know where you are, and therefore you'll be able to map out what you're going to do next. And that is always important to have a plan.
Yeah, it definitely is, and I know that looking at my mining portfolio at the moment, that's quite useful. It's quite nice looking at that, but again, I know I've got a plan there because I've got an understanding, pretty similar to yourself, I imagine, of what's likely to happen to the physical metal moving forward, and then how that should impact the miners. But yes, you are right. It's when you get to that top, that's when you've got to have that mental fortitude to rotate into something different, or at least have a plan, not just ride it up and down because that's not
I
going to
tell you
work.
something that I was in a position and it had gone up so much, and I was a young lad, and I didn't know what to do because it was just and I'd made too much money, and it was still going up, but I was waking up at 3 a.m. and somebody who was an old hand, he just said, "Well, just top slice it, just sell it down until you don't care," and that's good advice. You don't have to sell it all. You just sell it down until you go, "Oh, I don't care anymore. Oh, that's fine. I've
Mm.
taken the third off the table." And the other two-thirds I'm not so worried about now because the swings aren't so violent. So there's always that. So top slicing is always a good thing to do. And if I ever get too sweaty, but I know that I shouldn't be running. That's what I do. I top slice. But the mining stuff is very interesting. I'm not a big fan of miners, and a lot of people will say I'm an idiot. But it's very hard to get a decent play. It's like copper. I mean, I can only find a couple of good copper companies that fit my. These have been going for years. They've got a lot of copper. They mine a lot of copper, and they make a lot of money. Before you walk far away from Anto Famagusta, which I probably pronounced wrong, and Freeport McMoran, you're kind of quickly running out of places. And that's kind of interesting because if when you think about it, copper. Oh, having said that, Anglo America is merging with a Canadian company called something or other, Trink, I don't know, called something or other. You'll find it, and they're going to make a massive copper, almost pure play copper company. And I will probably be bailing into that when it's settled down a bit. But it's interesting that when you go, well, copper's going to go through the roof. There's not enough copper. They're going to boil the oceans. Talking of boiling the oceans, I did a video a couple of days ago, and I think it was too wild, too tinfoil hatty. And it was Elon Musk. He's saying, you can go see him say this on my video. You can cut to the chase. It's about an hour into his All In podcast, and he says, "Yeah, AI is going to take all the energy of the sun and then the galaxy." So he means not only is it going to take all the energy on Earth, it's going to take all the energy of the solar system because there's no limit to how much AI you need or want. And
Hmm.
AI is pure energy consumption. Yeah. So I'm not going to argue with the man that lands rockets backwards from space on floating barges on the sea. Yeah. But it tells you that is the important thought to have. AI is going to boil the oceans, all the energy, all the copper, all the fundamental raw materials, all the nuclear, all the solar, all the wind, all the tidal, all the geothermal, all the coal, all the oil, all the gas, all the lignite. Yeah.
Hmm.
So what's that gonna do? Now, obviously, you can take the commercial aspect and say, "Oh, we're going to die. It's the end of the world." Well, it isn't, is it? It means we're going to go through a massive, massive economic expansion. Massive, just hard to understand. And I've said this a few times. My hobby is finding money. And I do that by treasure hunting. And I go out in fields, blooming great 100-acre fields, nothing in them, just a big brown square. Well, they've got coins in there, they've got buckles, they've got buttons, they've got badges, they've got thimbles, they've got spoons, they've got forks, they've got wedding rings, you name it. Because there used to be houses there. 95% of the people lived on the land. There was no such thing as artificial muscles. And along came artificial muscles. And they all went to the city and lived twice as long and had 5 times as many children that didn't die when they were 3. Yeah. But that massive economic expansion from artificial muscles shaped the world that we're living in. I was in Cézanne's house yesterday, Paul Cézanne, the artist. And
Hmm.
it's a beautiful house, beautiful studio. There's nothing there in 1906. Nothing there. It's totally surrounded by buildings now. Yeah. The Industrial Revolution turned the world upside down, made humans live from 40 to 80, made people's child mortality vanished, well, at least in the industrialized world. And that's the invention of artificial muscle. This is the invention of artificial brain. That's 10x. Yeah. And the thing that people worry about is the AI was going to kill us all and blah, blah. AI doesn't need to kill us. It doesn't want to live on planet Earth. Why would it want to live on the gravity well when it can go live in space? You can fire a supercomputer into space, no trouble at all. Absolutely no trouble at all. Fire a few of them before you know it, they're building their computer centers out there around the sun, Dyson spheres. This is what Musk is talking about effectively. Why would you want to live on a wet, dirty, rusty, smelly, gravity-ridden hellhole like Earth? So you don't have to worry about them coming around bumping us off because they want to steal our Oreo cookies. You know, it's not going to happen.
I know when you were back on the show in May, you were speaking in depth about platinum then, and that was about 1,000. I want to say it's about $1,000 an ounce, give or take.
I
Of
think it's about
course,
950.
950 there or thereabouts. Of course, it's about 1350, 1400 now. So just for those that, again, I'll link to it, but what have obviously we've seen a big move in platinum. Again, is that likely to continue onwards and upwards in your opinion, given everything that you've just mentioned about AI and what's likely laying ahead?
Okay, the thing to think about, something big happens. Okay, and then you go, what's the implication of that? So the big thing is AI. What's the implication? What is AI? Well, AI is an NVIDIA GPU, and you pump loads of energy in one end, and it blows loads of heat out the other. Okay, and how much of that do you want? Oh, as much as you can give me. Okay, and when is enough enough? Never. Okay. So we're going to need all the energy in the world then, because we're going to be fighting with the other guys that want to be smarter than us. By the way, did you know the richest man in the world is the man with the most AI? Funny that.
Hmm.
Yeah, funny that. The man with the most AI is now the richest man in the world. How much more AI does he want? He seems to be buying lots of AI all over the place. He hasn't just got one AI, he's got several. Tried to make another one, but somebody stole it off him, and they're doing really well. Okay. So anyway, so you're in a situation where you're going to need infinite energy. Well, okay, so you're burning coal now. That's not so good, is it? Coal, CO2, smart dirt, sulfur dioxide, acid rain. Ah. So how do you fix that? Well, you fix it with platinum. Now, now they were going to cancel the internal combustion engine, weren't they?
Hmm.
Not going to do that anymore, are they? They're going to be using all the electricity for AI, and they're going to be saying, well, maybe we need to have, petrol engines after all. Yeah, because they're very efficient, because it's going to be about the efficient generation of energy. So it's all going to be about efficiency, yeah, and bulk. Yeah, so nuclear power, for example.
Hmm.
So if you're going to remediate environmental issues, then you have to do that with platinum and palladium because they're catalysts. Yeah. And also, they're catalysts for the sort of chemistry that is the new wave of chemistry that's coming, because it's not just AI that's going to go up, it's going to be everything, right? Because you're going to get AI is going to be going, oh, do you know if you plug X into Y into Z, you can have an anti-gravity machine? And then people go, really? Oh, let's give that a try. Oh, AI is right. Oh, if you want to do this more efficiently, you want to do this with this and a bit of platinum. Oh, so, AI is just going to elevate everything. Yeah. So if you look at all the elemental elements, platinum, palladium, very, very useful. They only make 200 tons of each. 200 tons. They make 25,000 tons of silver. They make 3,200 tons of gold. They make 200. Yeah. So they don't make any of it effectively. 200 tons. That's nothing. That's like, oh, it's just not much. So you've got this thing, you've got AI equals lots of energy equals the need to remediate the environment. Yeah. Petrol cars are not going to go away. I mean, I'm sure people notice, hey, why is nuclear power so in fashion all of a sudden? Why aren't they banning internal combustion engine cars anymore? And. Why are they making coal mines now? Yeah. Because of the energy requirements for AI. And economic boom. You get AI, you get economic boom. You need even more energy. You need energy upon energy upon energy. Yeah. And copper, there's not enough copper. And if you haven't got enough copper, you start having to use aluminium. Well, no, you have to use aluminium. It's all down to commodities.
Hmm.
Yeah. So commodities, particularly the ones where there aren't many of them, and they're all used in important things or gadgety things like your mobile phone, and strategic and critical minerals. That's a big, hairy deal. And, it's just a question of working out which are the ones which are the most likely to achieve. I mean, aluminium, there's a lot of aluminium, but everyone's got aluminium and they just haven't got enough energy to make it cost effective. Yeah, so maybe not aluminium. Copper, well, why is that? Why has Anglo American decided they want to, merge with a big copper mine and be a copper company? Well, they see the writing on the wall. There's way, way, way not enough copper. There wasn't enough copper before AI, and now AI is coming along. I mean, so copper's platinum, palladium. So you just have to keep going back around these things and going, what about that one? No, no. What about that one? Ooh. And how much? So platinum, palladium, purely that the internal combustion engine wasn't going to go away. and that there's going to need to be lots of environmental remediation, and it's going to be using lots of up-and-coming chemistry, and they don't make any. That's the key thing. They don't make any. America, which is really apparently very annoyed at Russia for being very nasty, have got sanctions on Russia. No, 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 no. And by the way, unless you put 100% sanctions on China and India for buying oil from Russia, we're not going to put more sanctions on. Blah, 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 blah. So what about sanctioning Russian platinum then? Oh no, we want that. They are
Yeah.
America has
Mhm.
no sanctions on Russian platinum. I don't know about palladium, probably palladium, but at least platinum. No, no, we'll have that. No sanctions on that. Give it to us. We need that. No, over here with that. Can't do without that because there's only three places: South Africa, Russia, and America that makes platinum. Yeah, and when with all is said and done, you absolutely definitely need this stuff. All of a sudden, sanctions falls away. And again, you could just check this stuff. You couldn't really make it up. I mean, I would have a difficulty, but this is the internet. Lots of stuff gets made up. You can go see that. America is taking the platinum group metals off Russia, no sanctions.
Yes, it is very true. It's stuff that I've researched before, so I can definitely vouch for you there, Clement. It is true. They are not sanctioning it at all. And yes,
I
there's a
wonder
lot
why. I wonder why.
ahead.
Oh,
And absolutely a lot going on. Thinking about what we've covered, obviously you've spoken about AI, you've spoken about Intel, spoken about the US equity markets, various commodities as well. What else? What else are you looking into at the moment, or what else can you see on the horizon?
well, I think it's really important to make your mind up which way you think the market's going. And I think it's a absolute mistake to be bearish. Yeah. I mean, there's going to be a lot of things that are going to scare the daylights out of people because, these are volatile times and they're times where America is basically, it's a new era. America has decided that it's not the number one anymore. I would put it as simple as that. China is now the number one in the world. And America don't like that and wants to catch back up and go back into the number one slot. Now, a lot of Americans go, oh, what are you talking about? No, no, America's number one, exceptionalism, all that stuff. I don't think that's right. I don't think that's right anymore. When England was the workshop of the world, it was the number one power. Yeah, when America was the workshop of the world, it was the number one power. Who's the workshop of the world? China.
Mhm.
Now, another way of looking at it, if you collected up all the currencies, all the euros and piled them up, and all the dollars and piled them up, and all the Chinese currency, yuan, and piled it up, and translated it into dollars, China's got twice as much dollars of its own currency than America has of its own currency. So it already has twice as much cash. Now, that's not to say that it hasn't got its problems, not to say it hasn't got its debt, not to say, it's going to achieve and be the great this and do that or whatever. The future is not written yet. But you could make um, a good point that China is now the number one, not in the past, now the number one. Yeah, because it can make the stuff and America can't. And America's making all these moves so it can again be a manufacturing powerhouse. Now it's the brain powerhouse. It comes up with, all the Nvidias and all the Googles and all the internet stuff. But
Mhm.
that's very fragile. You can just cut that stuff off, as China has done. China does not have Facebook. China does not have Google. China does not have that stuff. And now the Chinese are saying, oh, don't buy the Nvidia stuff. So, even in that top end stuff, China has caught up. I mean, this is the amazing thing. And I think this is not just the new administration. The old administration had realized that before Trump got in because they stepped up and banned Chinese cars in America. Did you know that? Did you know that Chinese cars were banned in America?
I wasn't aware of that. No, not 100%.
Yeah. It's not complete and utter and total, but near as damn it.
Mhm.
They've been banned. And the Biden administration did that. Well, oh, that's funny. When did that happen? Well, before Trump got in. Well, banning cars from a country full stop because it's a security risk. I mean, it's like put that in context, and you see that there's a big hairy deal going on, and it's not just it's not a small thing, and that the American system, the American public sector, has worked out that unless it gets its skates on, it's all over. Or the primacy of America is all over. Whether it's over now or not, it's getting pretty close. And they have gone and they've said no Chinese cars. And I'm going to go off and check that myself now in a minute because it just seems so incredible, doesn't it? And that wasn't a headline for like a month. America bans Chinese cars. But those Chinese cars are a fraction of the price. And they do things
Mhm.
like drive sideways and do all sorts of crazy, great stuff. Yeah. So, and how long ago was it when Chinese weren't making cars? 10 years, 15 years? And now they're making all these amazing cars. They're flooding Europe with them. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, when China is making amazing cars and America, not so much. Yeah. I mean, what next? What next? I mean, it's really only the airliners that they haven't really caught up with yet. So they've sorted the chips out. They got cut off from GPUs a couple of years ago, or 3 years ago. Huawei got kicked out, etc., etc. But where are they now? They're back and they're doing it themselves now. So the writing is has been on the wall for some time, and what you're seeing is not it's not going to happen. It happened already. And the implications for investment, that's why gold's going through the roof.
Mhm.
Yeah. The implications of that, if you think hard about AI, this conflict, economic conflict between China and America, there's all sorts of investment things pop up. And then you've got to find the one you go, oh, that's wrong. That can't be right. Oh, when they wake up to that one, like they haven't woken up to copper yet. Copper's still not. They haven't woken up to that. The whole Anglo-American mining company board has woken up to it, and they're merging the company. I mean, you'd expect them to be a bit ahead of everybody else, but when you're taking this huge mammoth mining company and going, "Oh, we need to be copper, just copper, forget everything else, copper, yeah, yeah, let's just merge," you know, they're in a position to know, and it must be pretty pressing for them to make such a gigantic move, strategic move like that, because they're basically putting all their own necks on the line.
Yeah, I think it was I wrote about it last week. I'll link to it in the post that comes with this. I think it was a $50 billion merger. I mean, we're not talking chump change here. We're talking massive implications for the industry moving forward.
And just copper.
Yes.
It's like it's not two big companies. We've got coal, we got this, we got that, we got the
Mhm.
other, blah 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 blah. It's like, yeah, copper, copper, bang, right? It's like, I mean, and these people have got boards that get highly paid, and half of them are going to perish now. I mean, obviously they've got nice golden parachutes and all that, but
Mhm.
the actual rupture that they're causing their organizations and their own personal lives is such that they really must see absolutely overriding reason to make the world's biggest copper mining company. I mean, they obviously don't think that there's going to be replacements for copper.
That's a sentiment I'd agree with as well. They are surely one step ahead of the game here. So again, that's the joy of doing these podcasts and having these conversations is to share this information so that people can at least be alert to what's going on and then go and help themselves moving forward. Clem,
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I always say it's not investment advice, it's raw material. This is
mm,
raw material for you to think about. And you can go, Robert and Clem, bunch of lunatics. Why would you want copper? I've thought it through. I've looked it up, and chewing gum is a replacement for copper. Who needs it? And that was yesterday's. Tomorrow it's all anti-gravity machines. And you might be right. But the point is, if you don't have raw material, then you're scuppered, aren't you? And you just can't pull this stuff out of thin air. And whatever, I mean, that's the good thing about charts. I don't know what's going on in the NSA or the CIA or the FBI, but I bet you there's a load of people that do, and I bet you they trade. So you'll see it in the
mhm.
chart before you'll see it in the news.
Clem, is there any other, before we wrap up and I uh, give you the opportunity to say how people can find you and things like that, is there anything else that we haven't spoken about that you would like to bring to people's attention?
No, I think that's the three things that are going on. There might not even be three. Is that we're going to have a strong market. until the midterms, which is the end of next year. I
Mm.
drew a chart on my latest video on my channel, Clem James Alpha, and you'll see it. And it's, you look at it and you go, oh, I think that'll be good if that happens. Yeah. So long-term strong markets for quite some time, a year, maybe more. Yeah. Gold, all the precious metals are good because as long as the Chinese US stress is going on, gold is just going to grind up. Yeah. And if it goes up quick, that's bad. If it goes up slow, it's not great, but okay. And platinum, palladium, they don't make any of it. Copper, there's just not going to be enough of it, but that's probably something that, I mean, people are waking up to it because people like us are talking about it.
Mm.
But it's still, I don't think people realize the implication of that. And AI, people still don't realize that this is like the Industrial Revolution all over again. Go see my video and you just see the clip of Elon say it. In fact, it was like the people who interview him said, shut up, that's too crazy for us. But the point is, there's no limit on the amount of energy that's going to be, and there's no limit, but the customer for it are governments. And no one's going to put their country in second place or too far behind anybody else in this race. Yeah, it's like nuclear proliferation, but I mean, and they're not going to have a treaty to say we're not going to have smarter AI, are they? So it's just going to explode economic activity over. I mean, you can see the trillions that are being invested right now, and it's going to be
Mm.
trillion upon trillion upon trillion. It's going to be a never ending, and it adds value. I mean, it really does add value. So it's not as if this is like a more addictive Facebook where everyone's going to settle there like a zombie looking at it. This is actually massive productivity thing. And productivity is, in the old days when I was young, they used to talk about productivity. Oh, and this year the productivity in the British industry has gone up by 1%. That's all they cared about because productivity is what drives economics. And if the productivity is going down, why isn't productivity going up? Oh, I don't know. Just let me check up my Facebook. Yeah, that's why productivity hasn't gone up. But anyway, this AI is going to drive massive productivity. And that means huge amounts of money and huge amounts of more economic activity. So grasp the impact or try to grasp the impact of AI because that will push all markets.
And as you said earlier on, that's really all of this is raw material for people to go away and continue to do their own research and come to their own conclusions as well. Clem, I know you mentioned your YouTube channel. I'll link to that in the show notes as well, but also a new FN as well. Your
Oh
website, how's
yeah,
that coming along?
any minute now. anewfn.com and we got some nice new gadgets going up and then we're going to be basically listening to what people want and then giving it to them. That's the idea.
Perfect stuff. Again, I'll link to that in the show notes. Clem, fantastic to have you back on board. I look forward to catching up again soon.
Yeah, look
And
forward to it.
thank you very much for your time.
Cheers, Robert. See you soon. Bye bye.